guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of The Fishing Teacher, and much appreciated you guys coming by the channel and spending some of your day with me. Always happy to have you guys around here. Guys, today I'm going to talk about one of my personal favorite ways to catch a bass, and that's by burning or ripping a spinnerbait. This is a technique that has been around for a long time, especially in my part of the country here in the Ozarks. It is probably one of the most funnest ways to catch a bass you'll ever catch one. I think it's just as fun or even funner than catching them on a topwater lure. So I'm going to give you guys some good tips and advice on how to do it. We're going to talk about the technique, the baits, the line, the type of areas you want to get into it in preparation for this fall when it really starts working good. It really starts working good, you know, about October or so in most parts of the country, but I'm going to really identify the exact specific set of conditions that's what you need to look for in today's episode. I'm also, guys, in preparation for fall fishing season, I'd just like to invite everybody to please swing by and check out my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns, man. We got the fall maps up on the site right now. Great resources to get some good fishing places on a lake you've never been to or your favorite lake. So I'll put that Fish the Moment lake map breakdown link description in the video here. And also, guys, just a quick invitation, everybody to hit that. I'd like to invite everybody to please consider hitting that subscribe button here to The Fishing Teacher. Right now, we've only got like 35% of the people that watch the videos are subscribed. So that's a good and free way to support the channel if you guys would like to help out like that. I really appreciate it. Okay, burning a spinnerbait is a Ozark. It's one of the long-time Ozark techniques here. And a lot of people don't realize, guys, but the Ozarks part of the country where I live in, you know, Lake of the Ozarks, Table Rock, Bull Shoals, Beaver Lake, so many of the mainstay techniques in bass fishing were developed right here. This is the home, the birthplace of jerkbait fishing, modern jerkbait fishing, square bill crankbaits, you know, finesse jigs, and burning a spinnerbait. Guys have been doing it around here for 50 years. The only thing that's changed is the spinnerbait, but I want to get into this in really fine detail in today's video. So anyway, guys, one of the things that you need to look for this is a very situational technique that works in a small window of the time of the year. And it's the fall time of year that it works. Now, I want to talk about the conditions first, and I want to get into the baits and everything and how to fish it, because if you try to do this, if you try to use this technique other than when it fits in this window that I'm going to talk about, you're probably not going to do that good in it. Based upon your part of the country, this starts working when that water temperature starts to get down into the 60s. And depending upon where your geographical location is, that could be anywhere between, you know, early October up into December. And the one exception to that, guys, is smallmouth fishing. If you guys like to fish for smallmouth up like in all those big famous smallmouth lakes up north, the Great Lakes, Champlain, St. Clair, you can catch big smallmouth burning the spinnerbait all summer long up there. That smallmouth will hammer a rip spinnerbait. But we're talking in today's video, I want to go man-made, you know, impoundments, mid part of the country or down south. So that's what you need to look for. You need to look when that water temperature starts getting down into the 60s, and until probably the lowest temperature I like to burn a spinnerbait in is about 55 degrees. Ideally, you want that temperature range 55 to 65 degrees. Okay. The next thing that you've got to have with burning a spinnerbait is you've got to have low light conditions. Now, that low light conditions can come in a lot of different type of situations. You can have a bright sunny day out with not much wind, but say, for example, it's early in the morning, you got a nice shady bank. The shade is going to be low light. You can catch them out of that shade on a sunny day. But my favorite conditions for burning a spinnerbait is a cloudy, rainy day with some wind. You know, if you have the perfect scenario, and on each side of this, let me give you the perfect scenario for it. Number one, you need clear water. You need water visibility of at least 3 feet. 3 feet or greater. You know, 3 feet is about the minimum. Number two, water temperature 55 to 65 degrees. And you need a low light day. So the perfect day would be like, we go out there and the water temperature is 60 degrees and it's raining. It's like maybe just a light rain or light to moderate rain. And you got maybe a 10-mile-an-hour wind. Not too much wind, but it's enough wind where there's some chop on the water and some clear water. When you get that variable of the clear water, the low light conditions, all that stuff mixed together, you have a perfect combination to burn a spinnerbait in. And you know, the type of lakes that usually works in the best are some type of rock cover. Parallel and bluffs is great. Just throwing it down a rocky bank, a riprap bank, a main lake point. I've caught them on all that type of stuff, but I really like some type of rock structure. And the rock can be anywhere between pea gravel rock or boulders or bluff banks. Any type of rock structure is going to be really good to fish this around. We'll get into that a little bit more here later. Okay, now another element, once you do have the conditions, once you've identified that you got some good conditions for burning a spinnerbait, the equipment is key. This is the spinnerbait you want to use right here, guys. But out of all the spinnerbaits on the market, don't waste your time, don't waste your money. This is the best burning spinnerbait. This is the Megabass SV3 spinnerbait. I'll link this in my tackle warehouse link in the description if you guys want to pick up a couple. But fish head design, it looks super natural in the clear water. Got a hand-tied living rubber skirt, nice shad. It's got a small nano-coated, super sharp, slick hook in there, probably about a 2-3/0 hook in there. It's got a nice keeper here if you want to use a trailer. And it's got 2 small double willow leaf blades. Small profile spinnerbait. You don't need a trailer on the SV3 usually because it's got the extended skirt. But this is the type of spinnerbait you want because you have to burn this thing. And any other type of spinnerbait, if it's not tuned perfectly like this Megabass is, this Megabass spinnerbait is tuned perfectly to run straight. If you try to burn a spinnerbait at a high speed, most spinnerbaits are going to roll off to their side because they don't have the fish head design like this, the patented fish head design of Megabass to keep it running straight. Attention to detail, quality components is the whole thing with this. So just get you a couple shad patterns like this in the SV3 spinnerbait. This is going to get you set up with it. Okay, now the next, line and rod net type of stuff. Most of the time when I'm burning a spinnerbait, I'm using 12 to 15 pound test Seaguar and VizX fluorocarbon line. You don't want to really go over 15 pound test because one of the key elements on burning a bait is making a long cast with it. And the 12 to 15 pound test will allow you to make a long cast with this bait. And it's still heavy enough. You're not really fishing around heavy cover. 12, 15 pound is plenty heavy enough to get even the biggest fish out. I've caught fish up to 9 pounds doing this. I caught the big bass. I was fishing the Bassmaster Top 100 tournament at Lake Lanier, Georgia, back in the early 90s, and I caught the big bass of the tournament, a 9 pounder, burning a spinnerbait on a bluff bank up there. So it'll catch big ones. Great technique for catching quality fish. So most of the time I'm using it on like a 7-foot 2-inch medium heavy rod. I use the Megabass Perfect Pitch. Again, 12 to 15 pound test fluorocarbon Megabass SV3 spinnerbait is the technique with it. Now the retrieve on this thing, one of the things about it is you've got to get the retrieve right because you got to get this bait moving just right. And let me get a rod here and I'm sort of going to show you, your rod positioning and how you want to hold it and everything with it. It's sort of like a swim jig a little bit. If you don't work the bait right, and if you don't have it just right in the water column, you're not going to catch many fish on it. So what you're trying to accomplish with this is you want this bait maybe 1 inch or 2 under the surface, about 2 inches. You don't want it so shallow to where it's throwing up like you don't want the blades breaking the surface and you don't want a bunch of water being boiled up underneath it. The best way to put it is when you're reeling it out there, you want to keep the speed and the depth of the spinnerbait to the point of where you occasionally see like a little boiling of water behind it. So most of the time that's going to be about this far underneath the water. Anywhere between say 3 to 6 inches under the water is going to be the perfect depth. If you do not keep the speed up and you drop this bait down like over 1 foot deep, you're not going to catch any fish on it. This is about keeping that spinnerbait almost like a topwater lure where those fish come up on it and hit it as a reaction strike. And most of the time when you get a bite burning a spinnerbait, you see the fish boil on it. Sometimes they come up and they'll leave a big boil. Other times they, if the spinnerbait's down maybe that far, maybe just something small. But the key is you want to keep it up high where they can't get a good look at it and they have to charge up from the depths to hit it. Now to do that, what you want to do is that depending upon the length of your cast, this is one of the critical things here is the cast and how you work this bait. So let's say, for example, we're on a bluff bank or, a main lake point or something. I'm gonna make the cast out there. I'm gonna make my long cast. And I want to get the bait started, I mean, as soon as it hits the water. I don't wanna like cast out there and let the bait hit the water and start reeling. I wanna cast out there, and right before the bait gets ready to hit the water, I'm gonna stop it with my thumb and I'm gonna start the retrieve. In other words, as soon as this bait, like boom, as soon as it hits the water, it's moving. It's not like as soon as it hits the water, it's gonna fall down and you're gonna move it. You want the thing moving right off the bat. So I cast it out there. I want my rod tip high because I've got a long cast out there, and as that rod tip being higher, it's gonna allow me to keep that bait high easier. So I'm casting it out there, boom, stop it, and I'm starting reeling about like this, stop and go retrieve, stop and go retrieve. Now, as the spinnerbait gets closer back to your boat, you got to drop the rod tip based upon how close the bait is, because if you keep your rod tip high the whole retrieve, as it gets closer to the boat, it's gonna blow out of the water. So as your bait's coming through the water, adjust your rod angle, come down like that with it to keep the bait at the exact same depth that you want, which is 3 to 6 inches under the water. This is about the speed I like to use. I'll throw it out there, stop and go retrieve, just like that, stop and go retrieve. Like anything else, your stop and go retrieve is gonna catch a lot more fish. You know, if you go something like this across the water, it's gonna catch a lot more fish than just going straight like that across the water. That is so critical. It's like once you catch a couple fish on it, say you catch a half a dozen fish on it, you're gonna understand what I'm talking about as far as the action, how deep the bait goes, how to get it moving right off the bat. All those elements are critical. And I want to reiterate that since you're fishing clear water and you're trying to bring the fish up, it's really important to try to make the longest cast that you can. I don't mean that you have to bomb it out there 50 yards, but don't like make an underhand cast, 30 or 40 foot away from the bank. You want to get it farther out away from the bank, because most of the time on the burning a spinnerbait, they're going to hit it within about the first 10 feet of retrieve. Now, don't get me wrong, occasionally they will hit it right at the boat. That 9-pounder I caught at Lake Lanier, I had about 5 feet of line out when that big fish hit. That's an exception to the rule. 90% of the time, when you get a bite burning a spinnerbait, unless you're fishing like a big open flat with smallmouth or something, you're gonna be throwing that spinnerbait up by the bank, you're gonna be burning it, and like I said, the first 3 to 10 foot is 90% of the time or more is when they're gonna hit it, so really pay attention to that. But guys, I'm telling you, it is a fun way to catch bass. I mean, it's like, a lot of times they hammer it so hard, they'll like to take the rod out of your hand, and it's the fact that you get this instant hard strike, and you see the fish boil at it a lot of times, that makes it so fun. And all you guys that fish up north know what I'm talking about. There's hardly nothing more fun than burning a spinnerbait for big smallmouth up in clear water. I mean, it's so fun because you can see them hit it a lot of times. And this will work anywhere, guys. I have caught them burning a spinnerbait on literally any lake I've been to that has rock and clear water and fall time of the year like we're talking about. So give it a try. Again, guys, I'll link them in the description. Definitely get you a couple of the SV3s through my Tackle Warehouse link. You will not regret it. This is the only bait you want to use. I've tried all of them before, and this is absolutely the best one out there. So hope it helps you guys catch some, and we'll check in later.